Thank you, Rajesh, giving me this opportunity in a wonderful course in keratoconus. You had good discussion to begin with, cross-linking of cornea. Basically, as you know, cross-linking will definitely enhance the stability of a keratoconus disease. Maybe it might prevent the progression of entire disease process of a keratoconus. And Dr. Reddy was talking about, it's not the actual treating the disease, it's basically improving the visual quality or vision of a patient. In that way, people will think of combining the cross-linking and taking care of a little bit of refractive error or irregular surface in these patients. That's why cross-linking with PRK or topo-guided PRK may be a possible option for these patients. Is it really effective or not effective? That is to be seen in most cases. So there are three ways. You've seen that cross-linking alone can be beneficial. In cases which are suitable more than 400 micron or less than 400 microns, various devices have been shown by Dr. Rajesh and other people. Or you can do a simultaneous cross-linking with PRK. Or you do a cross-linking of cornea, wait for 6 months to 1 year, see the topography, then do a PRK. The three options are there for your patients. They basically are looking for a cornea which is more than 400 micron thickness. When you are looking for PRK treatment, these patients, they have to have visual acuity of around 6/9, 6/12. That means these are patients which may get corrected by 50 micron of treatment. So PRK is limited to first 50 micron only. It might correct up to 2 diopter cylinder or maybe 1 diopter myopia with this treatment along with the cross-linking as such. So normally you have a Athens protocol which has been followed for many treatment, cross-linking and a PRK. Basically you have 6.5 millimeter PRK in these patients for 50 microns to remove the epithelium. Subsequently you do a PRK in these cases 5.5 millimeter in almost like a hyperopic treatment, and use mitomycin C and do the proper cross-linking for these patients. There may be a chances of delayed epithelial healing or a haze coming up these patients. This is a study by Kananopoulos, who is one of the most prominent figure in this regard, where he combined cross-linking the PRK simultaneously for these patients, found good results. And this is his retrospective data of more than 40 patients, where he thought same day simultaneous topography guided PRK with cross-linking gave a good results both in halting the progression and improving the visual acuity for these patients. And the long-term results also showed that simultaneous PRK with cross-linking has effective outcome for these patients with keratoconus. And in fact, even if you don't do a transepithelial PRK can also be done for these patients with effective results as such. So these are the clinical support which is then in literature for us to understand PRK can be effective. We know cross-linking alone in keratoconus does work in preventing the progression. Maybe if you do a simultaneous treatment, it might improve the vision of your patient apart from controlling the progression of disease. But the results of a post-CXL PRK seems to be less effective than the simultaneous treatment for these patients. So this is the option you have if you people are doing PRK and exam laser together. That's the option for patients who are suitable for this procedure. Thank you. Any comments, Dr. Reddy, before I open my second?
So what we did
Because
is,
you are the expert in this
so
field.
we did a few cases. What happened is initially they are very good vision, first 2 years, 3 years. Then after that they are again went significant, almost 30% went to hypermetropia.
Okay.
So we are not able to predict. So we
They're
stopped
not
right now.
combining the treatment.
Yeah, combining the treatment.
Okay.
3 years, 2 years, they are very good. But one eye of patient is good, the other eye going for hypermetropia, both disease same. And so now almost we stopped it simultaneous.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Let me give you a few guidelines when to do keratoplasty for your patients and what type of keratoplasty. This is a classical Amstel-Kurmi guidelines which tells you what should be done for what stage. Stage 1, maybe contact lenses or a C3R will do well. Stage 3, no scarring, you can do DALK in these patients or anterior laminar keratoplasty. When you have a stage 4, when you have a scarring in the descemetes, maybe penetrating keratoplasty is choice for these patients. People still do DALK in these cases also with the good results. So you have a scarring in the central area, descemet scarring, keratoplasty full thickness may be a choice. But if you have a no scarring, contact lens intolerant patients, corneal thickness less than 300 microns, maybe you should do DALK for these patients. Just to show you a classical demonstration of DALK procedure here. You can do a definition of around 70% depth with the Garnet definition. Subsequently, make a little bit of paracentesis. I'll go a little fast forward. Paracentesis here and put a little bubble inside and then do a big bubble technique for these patients. The inner bubbles will be a guideline for to appreciate if big bubble has formed, because these will shift to periphery. That means central big bubble has formed, and subsequently you can do a superficial dissection of a stroma. You can see, then make a puncture in the area where you want to have bubble to be released, and this puncture will have a bubble release. These inner bubbles will shift to central area. That means the bubble has punctured. Now replace with the viscoelastic the interface, and the central bubble will shift to periphery again because the descendant membrane will go backwards. So that's a good sign for people who don't have access to a IOCT microscope on the table. Subsequently, you can dissect out a superficial flap. So this is a good trick here. Once you make a 4 quadratic cuts, subsequently you can cut it. You can see how I slide my blade down and cut it rather than going tip towards the area. You can see now I slide the blade and cut the stroma. In that way, you can decrease the damage to the descemetes, because sometimes descemet can damage any stage of surgery. Then you can use any grade of tissue, non-optical also, and put a suturing. That has to be interrupted suture. Make sure you have a lens here so they go just anterior to the posterior plane of your incision. So that's a trick here, and this is what I like to show you, that the suturing has to be tight here in these cases where graft is almost same size, and they go quite long up to the limbus, and this will retain the tensile strength for a longer period, and cornea will get flattened till it heals. So if you make a smaller corneal sutures, there's an immediate release of tensile strength and the cornea bulges forward again. And this is what confocal microscope, actual descemet stripping DALK is there. This is the descemet area. It looks like a normal confocal microscopy of cornea in these patients. Penetrating graft, these are various indications. We talked about larger graft size, donor size almost same or a 0.25 millimeter larger. Avoid damaging underlying structure, especially the lens which is clear. You might put a pilocarpine in these cases. Give a tight suturing which can be interrupted or combined suturing for these patients. You can say, I'll again do a guarded definition here. Take out central area, dissect it out, put a graft, put an internal suture, and see these patients subsequently. These are post-op pictures for these patients. If you do a DALK in your patients, they have their own endothelium, and they can survive almost for 49 years. If you do PKP, they might survive only for 10 years. There's a meta-analysis for results for DALK and PKP. They do both equally well, but most importantly, in cases of endothelial cell loss, you can see DALK is 22%, PK is 50%, and that is a very important aspect. And glaucoma is also higher with the post-PK and resection also. So I would understand if you have cases where you can't do DALK, do peritoneal keratoplasty. If you have cases with DALK, in those cases where CXL cannot be done, or you can do a combination treatment, or contact lens intolerant DALK is a procedure. But in recent year, we know that incidence of DALK surgery or PKP has gone down because of the good results of cross-linking in all our patients. Thank you for your kind listening.
Thank you, sir, for an